American adaptations have always been a fairly controversial topic when it comes to films, and one of the main issues with them is that film adaptations and remakes tend to lean more towards the Western audiences, especially American adaptations, with the different approaches of style in filmmaking and how they portray the film's plot and overall story. One of the more fairly recent examples of controversial American adaptations is Spike Lee's Oldboy, released in 2013, a remake and adaptation of the Korean revenge drama of the same name, released in 2003, and directed by Chan-Wook. When it comes to comparing these two films, you can really understand the difference between the style of the film, the editing, and the writing. Although these films are both different, they still use their own way of telling the story that stays original to the main plot. Park Chan-wook's Oldboy is a film adaptation of the Japanese manga Oldboy, and follows fairly similar plot points and story to the manga. In the film, we follow the main protagonist Odae-soo through his time getting arrested and missing his daughter's birthday due to him being intoxicated, to being kidnapped by a mysterious group who then tosses him into a sealed hotel room to keep him captive for 15 years. Once he is released into the world, he tries to connect to society once again and to get revenge on whoever kept him as a prisoner for so long. The main premise of the film is revenge, as we see throughout the movie. The main character's focus is to get revenge and to find out the truth about why this happened to him. Park Chan-wook is very well known for using the revenge topic in his films, from directing films such as Lady Vengeance 2005 and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance 2002. All three of these films are also part of Park Chan-wook's revenge trilogy. He uses his style of filmmaking to put characters into situations where they need to do certain roles and tasks that lead them to seek revenge. The film is known to be one of the greatest revenge dramas ever, and with this popularity reaching international viewers, there will bound to be remakes and adaptations made about it. In 2013, a decade after the original Oldboy, Spike Lee's version of the film was released to the Western audience. According to the director, the film is more of a reinterpretation rather than a remake of the film, with following the same plot and format of the original film, but changing up the story and characters to be more original and to interpret something into newer light. With this comes massive changes to the story and overall film, which most, if not all, of the changes are bad and essentially ruin the film, and can lead viewers away from watching the original movie. One of the biggest changes that the 2013 version made was the story and characters, and how it is way more westernized. In Spike Lee's version, all of the characters' names are changed, and in the remake, the film takes place in the US in the year 1993, rather than in Korea in 1988. Both of the main characters are drunk businessmen. However, in Spike Lee's Oldboy, the main character is named Joe Doucette. A very, very interesting name, I guess. And instead of being taken away and held prison for 15 years, Joe Doucette is held for 20 years. One thing that I noticed about these two films is the pacing, and how Oldboy's 2013 pacing is very long and drags on with so much filler in it, especially during the introduction of the film. For example, in Oldboy 2003, the intro of the film from the main character getting arrested, released, and then kidnapped before the title card appears is all told in roughly 5 minutes. It has good pacing, gets straight to the point without any filler, and gets all the main points told to the viewers. However, in Spike Lee's Oldboy, the film tells all of this information in a much longer approach, and ends up being almost 15 minutes long, with not much going on. The issue with Oldboy 2013 is that there is too much dialogue and explanation to what's going on in the scenes rather than visually telling. It doesn't help the fact that there is so much filler in these scenes and unnecessary dialogue that could have easily been cut out from the film to shorten it down. Another thing that is very different between these two films is the music, and how in Oldboy 2003 the music plays a big role in the film, especially during tragic moments, fight scenes, and emotional moments. They use different variety of music in the film. However, one that sticks out the most is the use of classical music during these moments in the film to add more meaning to the scenes and more of an artistic approach to what is being shown in the film, such as the torture scene. Spike Lee's Oldboy fails at that. And for most of the scenes' music in the film, it uses stock sound effects and bland and not exciting music to it. The music never has meaning to it in this reinterpretation, and doesn't add anything to the scenes. There is one point in the film where Joe Doucette wakes up from a suitcase to find himself in an open field of grass with a mysterious woman staring at him. During the time when he is following the woman walking away, There is random generic chase music playing throughout the scene, which doesn't really add anything to the scene. It's boring and doesn't need to be there. In Oldboy 2003, however, Odesu wakes up on top of the roof of a building, only to see a suicidal man with his dog on the edge of the building. This is his first human interaction in 15 years, and this is visually shown by the protagonist touching the individual and communicating with him in this scene. And the music in this scene shows suspense during the moment when Odesu stops the man from jumping off the building, grabbing the man by his tie so he could tell him his story. This scene shows so much in such a short amount of time, and most of it is being told visually. Another thing that is very noticeably different in both films is the style of filmmaking. Oldboy 2003 aims for a more artistic approach, with different editing techniques used to tell the story, such as the red lines pointing from the hammer to the character's head in the fight scene, the cinematography during the famous hallway battle, and the use of color in the film. However, in Oldboy 2013, they aim for a more darker toned film and tries to be edgier than the original film, but fails at that attempt. This is most likely due to getting American audiences more interested in what they are watching, as that's kind of what they expect to see and are used to watching when it comes to big action drama films like this. We see a lot of this dark and more edgy filmmaking when it comes to remakes of other films, and even action drama films in Hollywood, since they always tried to show and tell the film in a more edgy and dark way, as well as to add shock value to their films to appeal to audiences too. There are so many other examples of differences and comparisons between these two films, such as the differences between the antagonists in the film, one being a wealthy businessman who seeks revenge on the main character as well, and one being a stereotypical evil billionaire British man, because Hollywood films. Different approaches with scenes, such as the torture scene. In Oldboy 2003, Odesu tortures the man by removing his teeth, and in Oldboy 2013, Joe Doucette tortures Samuel L. Jackson by removing pieces of skin from his neck. Which, do you even want to call that a torture scene? Because that's just not really that, shocking, I guess. And most importantly, the use of hypnotism that is used on the main characters that lead to the grand reveal and plot twist in Oldboy 2003. Yet in Oldboy 2013, it is completely removed. No mention of hypnotism, yet still approaches the same plot twist in the film. Oldboy 2003 has and always will be one of my favorite films of all time. Yet when I watched the reinterpretation remake of the film, I noticed all of these differences and changes in this film, which made me just want to stick with the original. Oldboy 2003 is great. Spike Lee's Oldboy, not so much.